Now, we begin today's program with a question from a listener in Whittier, California, who writes, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 says, "Therefore let him who thinks he stand take heed lest he fall." Does this verse speak about those who think they are Christians but are not?
And in the epistle to the Romans, we have been talking about this very thing, that today a great many people think they're saved and not, and they're told to examine themselves and see whether they're in the faith or not. Now, I want to say that we need today to do this very thing. I believe in the security of believers, but I also believe in the insecurity of make-believers. I believe that you need to be genuinely born again, and if you are, you're safe and saved. But today, especially in this day when so many people are being deceived, and there's so many church members that don't even know what it is to be born again, do not know what it is to come to Christ as sinners and trust Him. They think they stand, and they don't at all. That's the reason that you hear today about, what about this fella? He was a deacon for years in this church out here at a certain place, and all of a sudden he turns up as a rascal of the first water. What about him? Well, what about him? Who said that just because he was a deacon in a certain church that means he's saved? That's no proof at all. We today, unfortunately, are using the wrong measuring rod. We're using the wrong yardstick to measure Christians. We use today church membership, an officer in the church, active in the church, as if those things were a test of whether you're a child of God or not. Those are no tests, friends, at all. Now, I believe that a person who is saved, born again, they will do these things, I'm sure, but that's no test. The real test is, have you really been born again? And Paul says to the Corinthians, if you had gone on into 2 Corinthians, he says, examine yourself and see whether you're in the faith or not. And in the scripture that you've given here is a nice one to go along with it. Let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. You today, just because you're a church member and you're active and busy, really and truly, we need to examine ourselves. We go to a clinic. I go about once a year to a clinic for a checkup physically. See how the old ticker's coming along. See how your lungs are. See how things are coming. And we think that's wise. The doctors are for it, of course. That gives them a fee, but I think they're right in asking that we do it. But how many people today spiritually go to a spiritual clinic? That is, I don't mean to go to somebody else. If you have the right person to go to, fine. But it's something that you need to examine yourself. Am I in the faith? Examine yourself.